This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is John Shield. I'm the Vice President of Heartland LTC, and I'd like to welcome you to the third episode of LTC 101, a series of educational webinars on the long-term care insurance marketplace. Today, we're going to begin a two-part section on the pitch and techniques for jumpstarting your LTC sales using your existing client base. Today we have part one, how do I start? How do I get started? In today's webinar, we'll be actually looking at ways to pinpoint your target audience. We'll discuss when the best time to talk is. We'll look at 8 ways you can start a conversation on long-term care with your clients. And finally, we'll get into selecting the appropriate product and which one you should choose when showing to specific clients. But before we get started today, let's talk a little bit about Heartland LTC. We've been in the long-term care marketplace now for over 25 years and are your one-stop shop for all your care solution needs. After we're done today, we'll hope you reach out to us with any questions you may have about prospective clients that you're currently working with and could use long-term care, either in the Q&A at the end or after the webinar is over itself in the phone call. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Before we go any further though, let's talk a little bit about our current environment, which we've been doing for the last couple of webinars here. Now is a great time to be planning for the future. And I'm not even talking about necessarily your own future, but also your client's future. Every future here pretty much is involved. First off, you can be brushing up on your CE. This is a great time. We're all stuck out of the office for the most part. There's stay-at-home orders in multiple states right now. Arizona just had their stay-at-home order come down. California's had one going on for a little while now. This is a great time to brush up on your CE, get your CE caught up to make sure your license renewal period is all set and good to go, including your LTC CE, but also your life insurance CE so that you can get your license ready to go when it comes up for renewal next time around. E-applications are the new thing. Although they've been around for quite some time, this is seeing a lot more traction now than we have seen in the past. A lot of people are not interested in getting together in a face-to-face meeting and actually dealing with signing papers right up front. So what we're seeing now is that they're doing e-signatures, digital applications over the internet, sent by email. Every single one of our traditional LTC carriers and also the hybrid carriers are offering some form of e-application. So that it's a great way to actually continue processing business and continue working with your clients. In addition to that, we also have teleconferencing going on. Obviously, we're doing a webinar right now, but there are several options out there that allow you to actually meet with your clients in a virtual space of some sort. A lot of them are free as well. If you need some help in getting started in this arena about getting set up and being able to have a conference where you can share a screen with your clients so that they're not in the same room, but you're still conveying a good message, give us a call. We're not experts on this, obviously, because long-term care is our focus, but we are happy to help you kind of get started and get set up on how to get a teleconferencing going. And finally, fire sales. These are things we are expecting to occur. We have no official word on this except for one that's already occurred with Lincoln Money Guard, where they decided to do some rate increase on their new business that was going to be coming in. Interest rates and the bond market are at an incredible low right now. As a result, these carriers who their primary goal is to make money are going to have to adjust rates to compensate for this. We do not expect this to be an in-force rate increase, but we do expect potential future products, future sales to require a higher rate on their premiums. Right now, that is not happening. It has not been announced. There's nothing going on currently. Money Guard's already occurred. When it does happen, we are likely to have very little warning. Money Guard gave us a week when they announced theirs. As a result, if you have any clients that you have talked to already about long-term care and any potential prospects that are on the fence that they're not sure about, now is the time to go back and say, hey, we can secure you a lower premium right now before they even start thinking about raising the rates on the products for future sales. So now would be a great time to reopen some old files that may have been, hey, we're interested, but not right now. Now's a great time to go back. So let's get started for today. Let's begin by finding out who you can talk to from your own book of business. Who is your target audience? Let's pinpoint who we need to talk to. Some of you may remember this slide from our first episode when we discussed who the ideal client was and who the typical client was, or the average client. I'd encourage you to go back and view our previous episodes if you haven't had a chance to gain some of the more valuable insight regarding long-term care's target audience, as well as some of the product features that we talked about in our previous episode. For today, though, I'm going to flip this on its head and say, forget all this. Instead, who do you work with? Who is your target audience in your everyday business? Everybody, every single one of us needs to think about long-term care planning. So anyone you work with is a good sales lead. We all are going to need some form of long-term care down the road. Once you hit age 65, 70% of the people need long-term care in some way, shape, or form. So let's flip this on its head and look at that ideal client again from a different angle. Your valued clients, the ones you've worked with for years. It's a great opportunity at your next client review meeting to ask if they have planned for long-term care needs. Likewise, any new referrals that have come into your office or even walk-ins that have come in, you can demonstrate that you have a wide product portfolio from which you provide comprehensive services such as long-term care planning. And actually, anyone that you work with is a potential lead for a long-term care sale. So what circumstances offer the best opportunities to talk to clients about LTC? Well, right off the bat, our environment is one right now, right? The best time to talk about long-term care, look at all the people that are needing care right now. These are not long-term care issues, but it is still getting people talking about healthcare. So when's the best time to talk about long-term care under normal circumstances? Well, we just mentioned the client annual review meetings. These offer the opportunity to discuss an update on their financial situation, but it also provides a window to discuss planning for future needs, such as a long-term care situation. When working with a new client, you can and should offer long-term care options as part of your product portfolio. At the very least, a question asking if they have planned for their future expenses can help cover your own bases regarding filial responsibility. If you don't remember what filial responsibility is, we mentioned that in our first episode and how it impacted the industry. I highly recommend that you go back and watch that because it can be a serious issue that could get you in trouble in the future if you have not offered long-term care. This one's probably the most obvious right here, planning for retirement. If you're making retirement plans, surely planning for future care expenses needs to be a component in that. If you're only planning to build a giant nest egg and not worry about their care expenses, that nest egg could be cracked and broken into to pay for their care expenses, and then they don't have as much as they thought they did to live off of. Their reclining years may not be as reclining as they expect. They might find themselves eating into the retirement savings way faster than they anticipated if they do not have a long-term care plan that goes along with that. This next one's probably the most unusual one though, and most people don't even think about this as a time where you could possibly be selling a long-term care policy. When you're actually selling or delivering a long-term care policy, that is a great time to talk about LTC. You're thinking, wait, I've already talked about it. If I've already sold it, I've already done that part. And you'd be correct to those clients. But your clients are also the best source for referrals. They may have friends who need to be thinking about putting a plan in place, or they may have adult children that are just becoming eligible for long-term care planning solutions, or they may have purchased a plan already and seen its value, and now they're a great testimonial for planning for other people's care in the future because they are now secure in their own plans. So these are all four of these are great ways where great times to talk about long-term care with different clients, different backgrounds. They're all excellent ways where you can bring up and excellent times to bring up long-term care planning. So how do you start the conversation? Well, we're going to give you 8 simple ways that you can actually start a long-term care conversation. The first one is be open. Come out and tell them you'd like to talk to them about long-term care planning and ask if they would mind you talking about them. Everyone thinks about these things, worries about what the future holds. Clients actually want to be asked about these topics. In a survey conducted by Genworth a few years back, 78% of men and women indicated that they would find it helpful to talk to a financial professional about long-term care planning. Yet only 16% of the people said they'd actually had that discussion. Most of them aren't willing to actually bring up the topic themselves. They're looking for their financial advisor or their insurance agent to bring up the topic in a meeting with them so that they are then provided with the information at that point in time. They may not know the right time. We just talked about timing and what's the best time to talk with your clients. They may not know when that right time is. They may think long-term care planning is something that can be put on hold until they're in their late 60s, early 70s. That's the wrong time because you're really close to needing it and the cost is going to be significantly higher. So you definitely want to be the ones to bring up the topic of long-term care, usually at an earlier age than most people would think is the proper age to bring it up. Next, be reflective. You probably already know a lot about your clients. You needed to ask questions when they did things in the past, when they wanted to do various options on their existing plans that you've made for them. How do they perceive their future? What worries them? Get them thinking about past situations they've seen regarding friends and family who might have needed a long-term care plan or didn't have one and were stuck. And that leads us to our next point. Discuss someone else's situation. 46% of Americans surveyed said they or someone close to them has a personal experience needing nursing home care. Chances are that you or your clients know someone who is already dealing with some aspect of aging or long-term care. Talking about what's good or bad about their situation can be a useful launching point. According to a study done by Mutual of Omaha, 35% of LTC policyholders purchased their policy when they did because a loved one needed LTC. Keep in mind, when you need LTC, you're already too late to purchase a policy. So 35% of LTC policyholders saw someone else needing long-term care and decided they needed a policy to cover themselves so that they were prepared for it. Mention an article or a website, mention a source, give them a clipping or link to information about planning ahead, family conversations, long-term care costs, and move forward from there. We have several resources available here at Heartland LTC to help you provide your clients with an article or marketing materials that may help in generating a lead for long-term care sales. We recently sent out an article that came out years ago, but it's still just as poignant today from the New York Times regarding a father's wish just to be able to die at home. Unfortunately, the government was controlling his care and was pretty much moving him from hospital to facility to hospital to facility back and forth, and the family could do nothing about it. With a long-term care policy, they would have had control over their situation and been able to decide what was the best plan of care for him on their own. An article like that can be very powerful when helping to bring up the conversation with other people for purchasing long-term care. Next one is offer advice. This is a great way to get the discussion rolling as well. If they're working on starting a retirement account or preparing a last will and testament, that's the perfect time to incorporate long-term care planning as well. Ask if they've planned ahead and if they feel fully prepared, and then provide some advice based on your experiences or based on various articles that we have as well that you can provide to them to show what plans are available and why they should be looking at long-term care planning. Grab an opening. If, for example, they are talking about a family member in a nursing home and say, I don't see how she can stand it or how they can stand it in there. Ask them what they mean. What would they want in those same circumstances? If they're discussing family issues, which they probably are at a client review meeting with you, or just in general, if you're friendly with them and friendly with your clients, they may, tell you about issues going on. What would they want in that circumstance? If you miss the chance, bring it up at another time. Remember when you said you couldn't stand living in a nursing home, or remember when you said you had a relative that was having an issue? That's the great time to bring up, have you planned for long-term care? What are your plans for your future care needs? Next one, write. If you find this whole thing too daunting of making phone calls or meeting them face to face and doing teleconferencing these days now about getting this information out there and saying, hey, have you looked at long-term care planning? This option is the one for you then. Write a letter or an email outlining your concerns and what you would like to discuss with them. We actually have sample letters. The carriers provide them to get the conversation started about how they should be thinking about long-term care planning at this stage. It helps to get that just mailed out as just a simple mail to your client list to get the conversation started that way. This can be particularly helpful also if you live far away from clients or you only have a brief appointment to have these talks. You can pave the way and get them to start thinking about it before you get together at your next client review. And finally, get help. Maybe you have access to their family members who may also be your clients. Usually families, multi-generational families, stick with the same advisor or the same producer. Someone who is more at ease talking with them may have better results than you do. Remember, the children could eventually be the caregivers of their parents and are just as interested in making sure their parents are cared for as you are, and making sure their long-term care needs are met so that the children don't have to accept that responsibility. Don't be shy about asking the children to help. You just want someone to know that there are options out there. You want someone to be aware that they should begin planning for long-term care. So which of the products that are out there these days should you be showing to your clients? Which one should you recommend? Between traditional LTC, the hybrids, linked benefits, the other alternatives that are out there, there is a sea of options available out there, and which one is going to be the best fit for your clients? Well, as we've said, the product selection is done on a case-by-case basis. But when you aren't even sure where to start, with so many options out there, if you're new to the industry and you're not quite sure which is the best fit, we have a new tool that we're launching today to help you. This is Heartland LTC's product search. It's a brand new, easy to use online guide to help finding the right solution for your clients. It's an entirely web-based tool and it's mobile compatible, so you can use it in the field on your cell phones. It is going to be a part of our website attached to heartlandltc.com, so it's going to be real easy to get to no matter where you are. It asks just 4 simple questions to help come up with a recommendation. First, it wants to know what is their age. This helps determine specific products that might offer a better fit. Obviously, if they're in their younger ages, the immediate annuity stuff is not going to be an option, or reverse mortgages are not going to be an option for a funding source. So knowing their age kind of helps us fit them into a sweet spot. Next, we need to know if they're medically insurable. Now, this question can be difficult to ask and difficult to answer because we're not exactly sure what is medically insurable. A lot of people are unaware of what conditions are not available or what conditions involve are medically uninsurable and they are not able to even apply. Give us a call when you run into those situations. We are happy to do a pre-qualification for you where we can actually submit that information to all of the carriers on your behalf on a nameless basis. So we do not tie the client to this in any way. So that way, when we do apply, it's not tied to anything. And if they come back with a decline, then it's not tied to their name and we can try and find them somewhere else. But basically, it allows us to get an underwriter's recommendation as to what they think they would fit into. The more medical information we can provide to that underwriter, the better, because then we can get a clearer picture of where the underwriter thinks they're going to be. Now, is this a final offer? No. That type of pre-qualification is merely an initial look by an underwriter to say yes or no, we should apply or should not apply, and where they think they might land. Obviously, full medical records are going to be reviewed at the time of an application. The face-to-face or phone health interview is going to be considered as well, and that may change the offer in the end. Because if we don't know something that's going on that may be in those medical records, it may change the actual offer. So a pre-qualification will help us figure out whether or not they're medically insurable, but it will not be the actual ultimate answer. But as far as this is concerned, it's a great way to start to see which product is going to be looking for. Now, if you still aren't sure and you're looking for this to be more of a quick thing than having to do a pre-qualification, we're going to be enhancing this tool down the road throughout the year, actually, as we increase that portion of this as far as being able to medically insure a client. Certain questions can be asked to figure out, okay, yes, they're going to be in this category, or no, they're not. So we'll be able to drill this down a little bit more. Right now, it's just a simple yes or no question, but we're going to be enhancing that future tool to make this a little bit more robust as far as what options we can choose. What is their current financial situation? This is the third question it asks. This helps eliminate products that might not be within their reach financially, and thus help you sell the affordable solution instead of something that may be turning them off from buying at all. If they get a quote for a $100,000 premium dump in, and there's no way they have those assets, you're going to lose the sale. Their eyes are just going to roll in the back of their heads and going, "There's no way I can afford this. I'm never ever, buying long-term care insurance. I'll let the government handle it for me." It's much easier to kind of be just a little bit off with things than being completely out of the ballpark. So this question helps us eliminate products that are not on their radar financially, and then we can drill it down a little better from that. And the final question that it asks is, what is their primary concern or goal of buying a policy? Are they wanting LTC protection? Is that their primary goal? Or are they concerned about other factors like, what if I never use this? Or I might need life insurance, I need a death benefit. That's going to help us figure out which product is the best way to go, which channel. If we go traditional LTC, if we go into a hybrid, if we use NGL's product that has the return of premium option that kind of solves the what if I never use it option. There's a bunch of ways we can go. With these 4 questions, we actually have the ability to look and see basically where we should be going, what pieces we should be looking at. And with those answers, the system is going to recommend 1 or more solutions that are the best fit to your client. These could include a traditional LTC. They could include a hybrid policy chassis with some extended benefits, a linked benefit plan that covers life insurance death benefit or converts life insurance death benefits into LTC payments when needed. It may be a short-term care policy just to cover their costs without breaking the bank, or perhaps it may be even a reverse mortgage or some other alternative funding solution to help them get the care they need. The product search system will try to best meet the goals based on the answers that you submit. But remember, there may be other factors involved that may take one or more options and make it more feasible for a given client. So how really it's still on a case-by-case basis, but at least we're kind of helping you out by putting you into at least the general vicinity of the slice of the pie, and then maybe it branches out into the other areas depending on conversations down the road. But this is just kind of give you a general guidance as to which direction to go. So how do you access the system? Where is this? Well, because you guys have registered today, you guys are going to get a special preview of it later on. It is launching this week. We actually tried to get it up today. Unfortunately, it's not quite ready, but an email invitation is going to go out to you guys, to everyone that's on this call, to be able to access the system ahead of everyone else. We expect that to be tomorrow. We'll be announcing the launch of this later on this month. Probably about a week or two, it will launch to the public. But in the interim, you guys will have first crack and be able to see this and see what you think of the system. And please provide us with feedback. We are looking to build this to be a general tool for not just novice use, but also expert use. So if you are an agent that is familiar with LTC and you would like to kind of see how this works, feel free to use it and give us some feedback as to what you think we could do to improve it. Don't forget though, we're also always happy to help you in deciding the best product as well. Feel free to give our office a call anytime to gain our insight into the products that are available and what options may be best for your individual client circumstances. So if you have a specific client situation that doesn't quite fit into those 4 questions that we were looking at, or there's like gray area, give us a call. We're happy to kind of review, see which options might be a better fit in those regards as well. With that, it was a very short webinar today. We only went about 30 minutes, but we did discuss some pretty interesting topics about getting started, including the jumping off points such as pinpointing your targets, best time to talk to your clients, the 8 simple ways to get started, and which product you should be looking at to get started as well. So with that, I'd like to open up the webinar to any questions. If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. There's a little tiny cartoon talk bubble on the panel that you see there that you can click to get to the chat window. I'm also going to go ahead and unmute the lines so that anyone can speak as well if they have any questions directly. Okay, well, not hearing any questions. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today then. If you have any questions after the webinar, or you have anything that you'd like to discuss specifically regarding long-term care, a specific client circumstance that you may have, or a potential product option that you're looking at and you need some advice on, feel free to give me a call or drop me an email. My phone numbers are up on the screen as well as my email address. If there are no more questions, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for today's webinar. We hope to see you at the next one. Our next class will be next Wednesday, where we're going to be continuing this pitch series, and we'll be talking about overcoming objections and how to get over the objections that clients have to buying long-term care. Again, thanks for attending. We hope you have a great rest of your week and stay safe out there.